Welcome to TransSpotting, Alyssa. It's so good to have you here. Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Um,
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
awesome. I've been a big fan of yours for a while, as I've told you many times on Twitter. But I'm so excited to have you here. You are our first guest outside of interviewing each other on the show. And I hope
Oh,
that
wow.
feels like a bit of an honor for our tiny little show to be our first
Absolutely.
external guest.
Yeah, for sure. Pleasure to be here. Glad to be your first. Yeah.
Awesome. I forgot to introduce myself.
You sure
So
did.
let's start with that. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure we do that. And I love not editing out the shit takes because they're always funnier.
Yeah, it's better. It's better this way.
Hey y'all, welcome to TransSpotting. I'm Riv, one of your co-hosts and part-time producer, I guess.
And I'm Celeste. I'm here doing my thing. We're hanging out. We're about to have a good time. So,
And today we've got Alyssa MacKenzie coming in on our show for our very first guest. Welcome, Alyssa.
Oh, very nice to be here. Thank you so much for asking me. I really appreciate it. And I know we've talked for a while, and, it's an honor to be here.
It is an honor to have you here. And like I said before, hit the record button. Our interviews are not going to be like, so tell us the worst thing that's ever happened to you. It's going to be more of a laid back kind of show, and I'm sure we'll laugh, we'll cry, but for our listeners out there, unfortunately, we don't have Marcia with us today. Sending some love her way just in case anything's going on, but unless she pops in out of nowhere, we'll let her in from the lobby to come and knock the door down because she's a wonderful host and we miss her. But until then, it's just going to be the three of us chatting today. So awesome. Well, Alyssa, I know you were talking about before we started kind of the actual show part, a little bit about you were kind of having some fun before ramping up for the big move. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. So I know everybody doesn't know who I am. So, I mean, I know
Yeah.
a lot of people know me from my social media presence and stuff like that, mainly from Twitter, some from other platforms and whatnot. I am I'm an advocate. I am a non-binary trans woman. I'm married, 43 years old. I live in Florida, which is not the place to live currently right now, as with a lot of other places in the United States. So here in particular, here recently, we just had some heavily anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ legislation that just got passed, and it's been very emotional, for sure. It's been very difficult to process, but at the same time, it's also been a true testament to the people that are stepping up and are doing something to help combat this. And part of that has been really kind of just something that we know very, very well in our community is just kind of sticking together and, and being as positive and uplifting as we can. And one of the things that we were talking about before we hit record was being able to do the normal things, the everyday things that we get to do that keep us sane, like going out dancing or, going out with a girlfriend and talking to them and, and stuff like that. And my wife is actually she is a big line dancer of all things. She loves country music.
Yes.
Yeah. And, like me personally, I I will not say it's a guilty pleasure. I won't. I will say when I was back in high school, when we first moved to Florida, I actually got pretty heavily into country music. So it was like that was my jam in high school for quite a while, which is pretty funny considering what I listened to after that. But um, I never thought I would really be the type of person to start getting into line dancing, but it kind of, lo and behold, became something that we both started really enjoying. And, she was off doing her thing for months. She'd go on like, a couple days a week with friends. And she just, she would occasionally ask, but wouldn't push. She was like, if you ever want to come with me, you're more than welcome. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think anybody wants us to see that. So um, I don't really think I'm the greatest of dancers, but that's because I haven't tried. Um,
I feel
as
that.
it
Yeah.
turns out,
Yeah,
I'm
same.
not too bad. So
Well, that is
yeah,
incredible.
had no idea. I'm not the greatest at it, but I'm definitely not the worst. And it's been fun. Like, it's been a really cool outlet, So that's been some of what we've been doing, and and it's nice to have those moments. And the people that we go to dance with are pretty vociferous allies. So don't really have to worry too much about people causing too big of an issue. But I haven't had that, that type of experience out in public very often, if at all. So
That's good.
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I mean, we get those moments, and we still, with the climate being what it is, we still have to carve those moments out. We just have to be more careful about and intentional about the time that we spend. Um, so yeah, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, carefully like planning and strategizing just in case those things happen,
Yeah.
right?
That's so
Definitely.
hard. That's definitely something I can empathize with. Not long ago, I was living in East Tennessee, so like that was the climate that I came out as trans and had to adapt, and there's just a lot of uncomfortableness in all of that. So, but it's really important, and I'm really happy that you have found some nice places to, just be yourself and be fully accepted and all of that. That's so good. So important.
Definitely. And I think a lot of it too is, it took me a long time to find the confidence that I needed to find in order to be able to find those places, And I think so much of the trans experience kind of comes along with having the confidence, and, for lack of a better term, kind of um, putting yourself in those uncomfortable moments where you literally have to tell yourself, I am not going to be able to conduct my life as an everyday person in my authentic form if I don't get over some of my own personal hangups and fears. And that's, there are a lot of factors that come into play to that. But I think once I found that, I think I kind of just ran with it and didn't look back, because I don't really have those issues, like I used to, where I will never ever ever forget the first time I went into a public space as myself, by myself,
Yeah.
ever. I went to the grocery store and I was in the car, and I remember sitting there and asking, I had the keys in my hand, I had my purse in the other, and I just sat there for probably a good 5 minutes. And then eventually I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and said, "Get out of the car, Alyssa." And I did. And now they can't get rid of me. So,
I'm glad they can't.
yeah.
I have a very similar experience. I think we talked a little bit about this before,
Yeah.
Celeste and I, but yeah, it's one of those, like, it's now or never. Like, are we going to do this or are we not going to do this? Like, are we actually going? I say the royal we, of course. Are
The
we going to
royal
get
we.
out of the car and be brave today, or are we going to go back home and order Instacart again?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Wow. Is that not the struggle? For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's the grocery store is a powerful place because nobody's really looking at anybody there, and you don't really think about it until you're well outside of your comfort zone in that. And
Hmm.
it's,
Yeah, very true. And there's the the complications of standing in line and, who's looking at me, who's not looking at me, who's possibly clocking me, who's not, all that
Yes.
stuff. And navigating that and, just eventually getting to the point to where you just don't really see it much anymore. I try to be really purposeful in moments like that. It's like, hey, I'm going to the store for a reason. So let me go
Mhm.
get my stuff and go home. And it's not that easy,
Yeah.
until it is, until it's just like, hey, I got
Yeah.
shit to do. I have to go.
Yes.
Um, I didn't ask you. I am so sorry, but am I allowed to swear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, don't worry.
that's
I
something
have
we got to
marked
start covering with our
we should
guests.
probably do that. Yeah. Thank you for being the first guest and asking the hard-hitting questions.
Yes.
Yes, the
Yes.
I for those who don't know, it's so funny to say that lab. I'm the producer of the show, and I get to decide when I check the boxes when I do distribution to podcast services. Yeah, it's gonna be. We're gonna swear. It's gonna be fine.
Right.
It's gonna be fun.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Usually it's me
That's
swearing. Honestly, usually it's me swearing the most. But yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough. I
yeah,
figured I would ask. Probably should have done that in the reverse order before I did,
It's okay.
but here we are.
It's
yeah. I
fine.
think we're gonna be doing a lot of like reverse order stuff with our
Yeah.
first time doing the interview. It gives a lot of great info and I covered a lot of my questions already. Actually,
Yeah.
which is
Oh
great.
shoot. Okay.
No, you're doing great.
No, you're great. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, good. I mean, if I haven't answered all of your questions yet, for sure. I'm glad.
Oh, we've got more. We've got more.
We've
Don't
got
worry.
many more. We're
You're
getting
not
there.
Good.
done yet. You're
Good.
not out of the hot seat yet.
All right. Okay. I can deal.
All right. Well, I'm gonna back up a little bit here, since you touched a little bit on, having to put some fears aside to be yourself and go and live life as yourself. Even things as simple as going to the grocery store are terrifying the first time you do them, second time you do them as your authentic self. Um, what kind of, aside from that particular story, are there any other fears that you have kind of pushed past to live the best life that you possibly can at this point, in regards to, especially in regards to being trans, but just in general?
Yeah, there's been many actually. I mean, like for instance, I think one of them was, first, I didn't ever think that I would be the type of person that would be able to get up in front of, school boards and committees and, stuff like that and actually speak on the record for, a 3-minute section, and, speak to issues that are so important for so many different reasons. One, I didn't really think I had the ability of doing that, nor did I think that I could have the composure to do that. But as it turns out, it's um, part of this entire journey has been, really discovering myself, and a big piece of that has been finding who I really am in authenticity. And as it turned out, it wasn't as simple as just, coming out as trans, telling everybody, going through the anxiety of that, and then moving on. There's way more to it than that, and I found out, as it turns out, um, I'm I'm very lucky to have the ability to be able to do those types of things, to be leader, to be a leader in situations, and kind of gravitate towards those moments. Um, I never thought I'd find that ever. I never thought I would be the type of person that would be able to go to the Board of Medicine meetings that I've been attending. I'd been to every one of them since August of
Wow.
last year, when they started, when they started going after gender affirming care, and
Yeah.
I had been giving testimony on the record, and there were moments of just absolute ridiculousness that came along with that. That I was quoted in different people's videos as getting up and screaming, "Hey, you can't do this." and what you're doing is ridiculous, and I am going to take the opportunity to call you out on that and to take the moment that you're attempting to take away from us. I never thought I would be the person that they made sound clips about and stuff like that. But yeah, it turns out I can be that bitch.
Fuck
So
yeah.
if I have
Fuck
to,
yeah.
yeah, if I have to be that person in those moments, I will absolutely be that person in those moments. And it's turned out to be inspiring to other people, who rally in the same kind of moments with me, which is great. That's what we really kind of need. I wish we didn't. I wish we didn't need it as much as we do, but we need that, and it transcends the moments that we're going through right now. It's bigger than that. It turns out it's a good metaphor to have in life. When you truly believe in something, and it's it's worth fighting for, and when somebody decides they're going to challenge it, or attempt to try to dictate that for you, I have found that you will be very surprised what you're able to claim. And that's what I've found through all of this. That's been an incredible overcoming of adversity that I never knew I was capable of. So, long-winded answer, but yeah, I would say that's probably a good instance.
Yeah, that's a really good answer to that. It's really important that we have people like you that are willing to be that bitch, as you said.
Yes,
And
thank you.
that's so important that we have that. What gives you, I don't know how to word this correctly. What gives you the drive to do this? Like, that's a hard thing to set up and be like, yes, I'm going to be willing to go to all of these school board meetings, being willing to go in front of the boards and all of that about medication. I mean, that takes a lot of courage. There's a lot in that. What drives you? But beyond just the obvious, it affects you too. But what's the drive?
It's needed, and it's amazing that it really comes down to being that simple, but it really does. I found, there are moments that I've come across in life, and I've always been this person before I transitioned, even, where I think there are moments that kind of call to us. There are moments where um, you're almost waiting for somebody to meet the moment, and I think, um, I'm a believer in fate. I'm a believer that fate can take you to areas of, opportunity, and then it's up to you. And in those moments, especially with, it's difficult for me to, and I think it's probably difficult for a lot of trans people to see, trans youth being as manipulated as they are right now. So relating it to that, it's easy for me to gravitate towards those moments and say, hey, I was that kid. I may not have come out while I was that young, but inside I was that kid. And if I have the opportunity to do something about, making it even that much easier for somebody, bet your ass I will. I will do that. And you know, I will sit there and wait for my Apple Watch to give me a notification telling me that my heart rate is higher than 120 beats per minute, because that happened too. But I'll still be that person if I need to. And it turns out, more of what I was saying before, when you are that person in those moments and you fill the void that you're seeing, it inspires, and it inspires other people to do that. One of the last Board of Medicine meetings that we had last year, before they convened for the year, I think, um, that was the first meeting that I went to that I didn't feel like I needed to be the one kind of leading the charge, because everybody else was. We were ready. I mean, we were ready to meet the moment, and so many of us were ready to meet the moment and call them out on what they're doing, um, and let people know specifically, the type of things that are happening are directly affecting my life, and you need to know that. Um, so I think that's really the drive. I think the drive is just, um, you know, understanding that we've all been that person before, especially in those moments. I'd love for us to be talking about things that are so much less interesting than that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to have conversations about other things like that, like the things that we're personally into, or just what board games we think are the greatest, or whatever video games we're into, or how many people we know that are in IT, or anything else that we can probably really easily identify with. But I mean, that's I remember when I first got into advocacy, and it wasn't all that long ago, like officially really into it. I started as a board member for the local LGBTQ group, the Democratic caucus for my county. I went to a meeting. They invited me to be there. I decided to be a member. I joined. It was really, really welcoming and inviting, and I can understand it was really important work. And after two visits there, they asked me to be on the board. And my first active duty being on the board was to be in a gala full of 300 people, where we were talking to some of the most influential people in politics. That's huge. I mean, I don't have anything previously to reference that to that meets that kind of a moment, but I mean, that's what we did. And I wanted people to know that trans people are in the room, that in moments like that, when they're talking about standing for constituents, I am a constituent, and I am not just a person that you're trying to appease. I'm a real person, and we are real people with real issues that we need you to help us with. It's going to be really easy for me to go off on tangents, so try to reel me in.
No, all of these tangents are so important.
This is why editing exists. It's totally
Gotcha.
fine. I trust me, if you listen to the last episode that we did, I'm also a fan of tangents to go off on.
Nice. Okay.
But
I'll have to listen to it for sure.
Yeah. I'm so nervous the entire time. So I understand probably what it feels like to be in that chair right now. It kind of sounds like, it reminds me a little bit of a superhero origin story, where it's these horrible things are happening, and there's an opportunity to be the person that you wish you had to stand up for you, back when you were vulnerable. And so it's kind of like, what are you prepared to do to make a difference? And I really admire that you stepped up, and I'm so thankful that you did. And I see you every day on social media, mostly because I'm across the country, but I see the results of that, and I'm really thankful, and it's impressive and incredible and admirable, all the things that you're doing and that you've done so far. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
I do. It's been a really interesting few years. I am trying to put it as lightly as I can, I guess.
you can be as dark as you want to be. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's easy for me to go down that route. I'm sure it's easy for just about anybody to go down that route if they really truly want to. But I'm known for being the person that is as positive as possible and uplifting, and tries to look at the other side of things, and the possibilities, instead of doom and gloom kind of stuff. Because we have enough of that, we do. And here lately, it's been very difficult, I've felt, to do what I know how to do. There's some really serious things going on that are affecting everyone I know. And I don't really know exactly how you turn that down, when it affects so many people. I can't I cannot go through a single day without some of this touching something in my life. That's really tough. It's heavy. But at the same time, it makes you assess and really kind of think of what really is important, and what you're spending your time doing, what you really truly want, and how you can make an impact, how you can make a difference, and still balance your sanity through this. Um, it's it's been a challenge. It really has. I know both of you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's um, I don't know. I know that here recently it seems like it's been so continual that it just hasn't turned off, right? And through that, I've been trying to spend time making sure that what I put out is going to be impactful, and when I interact with someone, it's going to be for a reason. I have I have other channels that I use to try to, bring people up, check in, make sure they're okay. I reach out to people through DM, they reach out to me. I have a Discord server that I'm a part of that we provide a inclusive space that's safe for people to go to, and just provide an area for people to not have to deal with this if they don't want to, and not have to worry about being on all the time. um, that's been incredibly important. Yeah, and having those types of moments, especially, it's like every single time we pick this stupid thing up, um,
Every time.
it's that anxiety, and I get it. I totally get it. So I try to get out the things that are important on top of keeping it light and keeping people connected. And um, I would like to think I try to do a decent job of it. And
I would
I
agree
am
with that.
just like things. Um, I'm just like a ton of other people that I know. Just trying to do my best. You know.
Yeah.
That's all
That's
we
all we
can
can
do.
do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jinx.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah. It's always really hard to it's the news cycle is constant, and there's new things that we read every single day, in not just in Florida but across the US and across the world, but specifically in the US recently. It's been a rough go of it, and it's really easy to get weighed down by all of that. And yeah, some days are a lot harder than others. Some days you can kind of take the blows as it go and it not, I don't know, affect you as deeply, but some days hit hard. And that balance is so important to find.
Yeah. I remember maybe about 6 months ago to a year ago, I remember right when everything was ramping up. I mean, even more so than, we're just starting to ramp up. I worked from home mostly, and I literally had to set aside about half an hour of the day to just let myself mourn and cry because of how bad it was getting and how bad we're watching it get. And I tried to express it one time to someone at work. I'm like, whoa, basically, who's shitting your cereal kind of situation. I was like, if you really want to know, here's what's going on. And the answer we consistently get from people seems to be, well, you're in a progressive state. You're safe. Everything's fine. I'm like, okay, I know I am, but what about the other people? What about people that's in the community with me who are vulnerable?
Right.
And I can't stop thinking about that. And I can imagine that that is probably a big part of, you're obviously in a state where that's actively happening. And all I
Right.
could think about was people like you and people like others in red states who have such a hard time getting what they need to thrive, and all the kids who might not come out, and or have the opportunity to know who they are. Um, and it
Exactly.
does weigh on you. Yeah. But at the same time, like, how do you balance that with lifting others up at the same time to make sure that they're okay? It's a tightrope walk, I think.
Brandon, I have found that the only thing that really seems to make me feel better about any of this is doing something hands-on, really.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved with advocacy was because being in the room during some of these conversations, though it's extremely emotional and it is very trying, and you have to watch how many spoons you have and take care of yourself, um, it makes an impact. It shows um, a side of sanity to people that feel like nothing is sane right now. Um, I see that so much. So many people that see this nonsense going on around us, and it's almost difficult to to feel like there's really anybody that is seeing it for what it is. So those are the people that I try to show up for, and it by proxy it kind of helps. I mean, it does help me. It helps me keep going when I see other people that are going through the same things, and they're fighting for the same things that we're fighting for, which is really ultimately to just kind of live our lives and be left alone. And to see that many people in one room, though it's painful to see, it's also very empowering to see. When you surround yourself with so many people that are fighting for the same thing that you're fighting for, that really helps. And it helps on days that it's difficult to turn a lot of that stuff down because it's so loud.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing that has made me feel better. There's other times. I'm an empath, so I don't really, I don't know if either one of you are, but it's it's really, really difficult to not feel that when people tell stories, and especially, when you get DMs from people that are telling you, thank you so much for, and then they kind of talk to you about their story. And a lot of it is involving, either somebody that they dearly love, somebody that's in their family or them themselves. And it's really difficult to just say, well, that's really unfortunate and I understand and here's how I can help. Or most of the time you can't, you can't really help a whole lot. But those are the people that you remember, when you go
Yeah.
and when you go to a protest or you go to a rally. Or I met at the center, the LGBTQ center that we have here in Orlando. I went with my best friend and we went to go paint signs for a protest that was coming up, the first one for gender affirming care. And I met Maxwell Frost there, the representative that he's the youngest member of Congress. He's 25 years old, just got elected here, and that's how I met him. Was at a sign painting party that he decided to come to, and it was at the very beginning of his campaign when really nobody knew him, and got to have conversations like that, and just got to talk to him a little bit about what he's about, and um, that was incredibly hopeful, to hear somebody that's that in tune with the current climate. That really, you know, he's very big into gun advocacy, to try to curb gun violence. He was directly involved with the Parkland shooting that happened, so it's very near and dear to him. And to be able to have those types of conversations, in those moments, that kind of really hits everything. It kind of really charges you back up, and you need to doing these kind of things. I think that's what really everybody needs. Yeah.
That's
I apologize here. I was listening. I was getting a text from Marcia, who had to work a little bit later, and she's
Oh,
now
okay.
waiting to come in.
Okay.
So I'm letting her know that we've been chatting for about half an hour, and I'll let her in here in a second. Um, Thank you so much. Everything you've been saying so far has been, I don't know. I just want to know more about your story, and I want to know
yeah.
more about how how the gears kind of work when it comes to these things, how they move. And I do
Absolutely.
have some more questions for you about your origin story and about kind of more about you and not just about necessarily definitely more about legislation stuff, but more about you.
Yeah.
And I'll let Marcia in here in a second. And she's probably one of the most room commanding people outside of yourself that I've met. So I think you'll really enjoy talking to her.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't
All
wait.
right, so here we go.
Mhm.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi,
Hi,
Marcia.
sorry I was so late. I had to work at work.
No worries. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
We've got Alyssa here.
Hi, Alyssa.
Marcia.
Nice to meet
Hey,
you.
how are you? Nice to meet
Fine.
you too.
Hi, what did I miss?
Well, we talked about each other's favorite colors. No, um, we were just
Probably
kind of
pink.
not mine actually, surprisingly enough, but mine's purple.
That's fine.
But yeah, we were kind of just briefly going over some of the things that we do to keep sane. You know, I was talking about some of my advocacy work and stuff like that, giving a little bit of a background as to how I, what I've been up to, and that's pretty much most of what we were talking about, and how it kind of relates to what's currently going on and whatnot. But
Nice.
yeah, but I am excited for more questions from all of you for sure.
What time did we all start? And how late am I?
35
we
minutes.
Yeah, about 35 minutes.
Okay, that's my fault. I apologize.
That is totally fine.
Totally good.
That's
It's
once
part of
again,
it.
that's why editing exists. We can.
That's right. Do you want to record the intro now?
You do the intro again. Yeah, let's do it. We already did it twice because I fucked it up the first time because you
Okay.
weren't
True.
here.
It's true.
So to keep me on the ball. You want to start us off, Marcia?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to TransSpotting. My name's Marcia. Thank you all for joining us.
We'll splice that in.
Yeah.
We'll just put that at the very beginning.
Perfect.
It'll be fine.
Put it in the beginning.
Absolutely
Leave it
perfect.
here too. We can
I
leave
just
it
come
here,
in like
too.
halfway through the show and I'm like, hi, everyone. I'm Marcia.
And then we don't even reference that you were just in here 35 minutes later, and
Yeah.
No.
we just act like you were in here the entire time.
I tell you, scheduling
whole
like
time.
early Saturday afternoon is such a crapshoot for me because sometimes I only have to work like an hour or two on Saturday mornings, and sometimes it's like 4 or 5 hours.
That sounds fun. No, it sounds about as fun as it probably is.
It's super fun, and I didn't even put any makeup on. Y'all look so cute.
Oh,
You look so
thank you.
cute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and thank you.
Okay, what kind of activism work do you do? I'm getting caught up.
Well, most of the advocacy and activism work that I do is with the LGBTQ community. I do stuff on a local level, I do stuff on a regional level, and I do some stuff on a national level as well. I used to be an organizer with the Human Rights Campaign for a bit. I worked on the 2022 midterm election in Florida, which was one of the only corners of the United States that wasn't celebrating because we got our butts kicked.
Well, there's so much
but-
gerrymandering down there.
A tremendous amount, for sure. We dealt with some really unique challenges, and that's the nicest way that I can really put it. But I know that was a tremendous learning experience. I had never been involved with any type of, political work before that. I used to be a board member for the local LGBTQ Democratic Caucus for my county, and I served on the board for them for about a year, and then that's what kind of led me to HRC. So I started working with them in September of last year, worked through the elections, got to work with all of the candidates, got to work with the coordinated campaign, It was amazing. It really was. If anyone has the opportunity to work with an organization like that, I would highly recommend it. It is so incredibly empowering and uplifting, and to work in the same room with so many people that really genuinely want to be there, that give a damn. It's the best. It really is. It's super cool to be involved with the people that are essentially going to be kind of, you know, taking the torch from a generation that is trying to set everything on fire. So, um,
Taking the
yeah,
torch and being like, don't light anything with that.
please,
Here.
Yeah.
you've proven we need to take that and give it to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna put that down over here for safekeeping.
Yeah, no, everything's fine, and we just think it's the best idea that someone else other than you ever has it again. That
Mm-hmm.
sounds right?
Yeah.
I'm
Sounds
sure we
about
could
right.
pull
Nice
that
way to
off,
put
and
it.
yeah, we could say it in a non confrontational way. I'm sure.
Yeah,
So
I
what
can.
drew you to that work initially?
I am a non-binary trans woman. I came
Hey,
out.
welcome to the
Yeah.
club. You're in good company.
I came out in March of 2019. I went through. I started HRT about 2 weeks after I came out.
Nice. That's good
So
time. Good
yeah,
timing.
That's nice. That's nice.
it was a very interesting time to be trans at the height of the Trump campaign, and then right before COVID. Uh, a really interesting time for
Super
pretty much
easy,
everything and
right?
anything in the world. Yeah, it was a breeze, no big deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It really was. Like it was very difficult to to kind of, it was difficult in some respects, but actually COVID kind of made transitioning a lot easier for me. I think
Mm-hmm.
because when I went through, I love having the conversation with people about how they went through their name change and went through the legal process of things after the fact, after all of the stuff is taken care of and people can breathe a sigh of relief and stuff like that, because everybody has a similar story. Um, but mine was a little bit different. Like, I didn't have to worry about the anxiety of being in the courtroom because I did mine, over a Zoom call, which was great. Not the same experience that some of the other people had. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll take that for sure. But yeah, it's been really interesting to find myself in the time that from the time I came out to now. I was telling Reverend Celeste that um, I didn't really know that I was capable of doing the things that I do now. I
Mm-hmm.
never thought I would really kind of be that person, but when you believe in something and you find yourself, and you truly find that your authentic self is not half that bad, you kind of want to hang on to that person,
Hey, you're not
and
half bad. I would agree with that.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, so it kind of becomes easier to fight for, and I've
Mm-hmm.
found I have a lot more power than I ever knew I had, and, and it's inspired other people to find it.
Can you
I'm
give
very
some
glad you said
examples
that.
of that power that you didn't realize that you had?
I like that
Absolutely.
question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I talked a little bit about it before with Rev and uh, Celeste. Uh,
Sorry, you missed a
just
lot.
I know.
It's
I feel
quite
bad.
all
I'm getting
right.
caught up.
No, it's quite all right because we can do kind of like a live recap. Um,
Yeah.
so a couple of different moments that I realized was, I can be the person that stands up at board meetings and, vociferously objects to things if I need to, and people are being, their rights are being trampled on. I can be that loud voice of opposition that stands up for people, and um, I think in moments that you're hoping for that kind of reaction from someone, um, it's like, who's going to come in to fill the void of things and to be that, um, it turns out when situations like that come up, I'm more than happy to be to be that person if I need to. So in moments like that, it's become. I never ever knew I was the type of person to be that. Like, I was one of the least vocal people on the planet before I transitioned, and finding a comfortability with yourself, and finding your own power, has really kind of helped me find that. It's been interesting to see how many people kind of just come to me naturally and say, "Hey, Alyssa, I have this going on. I think you'd be a really good, a really good person to bounce some ideas off of. Or would you be available to be a guest speaker for there's a event that's coming up at I want to be careful on giving too incredibly specific information just because of the climate being what it is right now. But
Of course.
in generality,
Yes.
there are
Safety is
things that are
key.
coming up that, yeah, of course. But I mean, we have some events that are coming up that I've been asked to be speaker at, which is unbelievably cool because it's at some locations that I've frequented pretty much in my whole time being here. I've been in Florida for like 30 years. So I've been here a long time, a long part of my life, and I'm 43, so it's more than, it's more than half of my life. So to be asked to do stuff like that is just, it's incredible, and it's like I'm helping lift other people up and figure out, what their power is. Um,
Mm.
that's amazing. That's so incredible to be a part of that.
Would you say that finding your own power has given you the strength to help other people find their power?
Absolutely, definitely. When you
Because
find your
that's
own
really
power,
empowering.
it is. It really, really is. It's this positive, vicious cycle, I guess.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, you find it, and I think it's like a lot of things that you find, that you experience, that make you feel amazing and make you feel really good. You kind of want to share that with people. That's kind of usually my instinct for things like that. Is if I find something that's amazing, um, I want other people to feel that. I want other people to understand how incredible this is. And I haven't known a better feeling than to reclaim your power. It's so
Yes.
incredibly fulfilling. Um,
I can definitely say that watching as a uh, baby River in first year of transition, I definitely
yeah,
was watching you and watching your growth, and it did help it to empower me to boost up others and to try to put some positive stuff out there for people who are just figuring themselves out too. And so firsthand, I know that you definitely inspire people, and I think that's incredible. Celeste, do you have
Yeah,
any questions you want to ask?
I do. So, I mean, you're talking about, all the you inspiring people, and as River said, like it's how it's important to her and all of that kind of stuff. So, for someone that wants to get into that, where do you start? Where does the average trans person start to try to make a difference in all of this?
I found the easiest way to get, because I was asking the same question for a long time. I was like, I have to be on, I have to get my hands on something, some type of group, or some type of, way of making some kind of an impact. And I did that with local groups. There was a local group that was at the LGBTQ center that we have here in Orlando. They were It was the very first group that I was involved with, and I just they had a trans authenticity group. It was it took me probably a good month of going every week and sitting in the parking lot and trying to get enough courage to get out of the car and go into the actual building and talk to people.
Hmm.
I did that for a month. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt like I was an imposter, all the nonsense and bullshit that we go through. I did all of that. And when I finally was able to overcome that and get in there and talk to people, I met some amazing people, some amazing the facilitator. I'm still friends with her to this day. She's amazing. She does so much work in the community, and she's so interconnected. That's one of the things that we were talking about before, about how it seems like trans people, specifically, are so interconnected. We know so many of the same people, and yeah, I know that we are a relatively small group of people, but I find it amazing to see how many circles we end up, traveling in that are so similar or exactly the same, that overlap with each other over and over again. I think that was the first way that I was able to get involved with advocacy, was really just going to groups and learning, talking and addressing my need to learn about myself first. And I don't really feel like I found the confidence to be able to do any type of advocacy work without really taking the time to understand myself first. And once I did, all the people that kind of do that for in their personal time, they kind of gravitate towards you. You notice that, how it seems like when you spend time doing something that you're really passionate about, or that you just really genuinely enjoy, those people kind of gravitate towards you.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what ends up happening. And then you meet one person that connects you with people. I got connected through the local committee that does the pride parades here. I became friends with one of the coordinators, and we got to talking, and she introduced me to some other people, and then getting involved with the LGBTQ Democratic Caucus was a great way to start meeting people. I wanted stuff that was going to make an impact. I was interested in immediately doing something that I could relate into the real world and put my hands around almost and say, hey, I'm doing this. This is right here. This is what I'm doing. I'm very much a believer in stuff like that. I like seeing the results of what we do. And you see that with this, I guess that's why it feels the way it does, right? Like when we have personal conversations with somebody, and there's this piece of our journey that we learn, and it makes sense, and the light bulbs finally click off, and they're like, hey, oh my God, I get this. This makes so much sense. You want to share that with people. And, when you have that, and you're able to pass that down to somebody else, it's kind of like a drug. You kind of want more and more of that feeling. And that's what it feels like every time I do this. It's so stupid cool.
Oh, I love that for you.
Yeah,
That's
So
fantastic.
stupid cool. I love that.
Yeah. Just feels good to help people. It feels good to make a difference, to know that something that you were struggling with or just didn't make any sense to you at the time, you can give just that much more help to somebody, and make it that much easier for them. So I think that's probably the best way that I got involved with advocacy, was just being involved in groups of people that not only have the interest in wanting to, be in touch with who they are and figure out who they are and learn and grow. But I find people that want to do those things also want to help other people. And it turns out there's quite a bit of them. It just doesn't feel like it sometimes.
And you get that
sure.
nice synergy going along.
You do. You absolutely do. I mean, you end up having some of the
Good buzzword.
most amazing conversations. Like I've had some of the most unbelievable conversations with people. I was telling them before, Marcia, I was talking about one of the first events I ever went to was the Seminole. I think it was what was it? There was the Democratic Gala, and everyone in the Democratic Party in Florida was there. And that was like the first thing I went to. So I walked into this conference center with over 300 people, and I got my name tag. walked in, almost turned right around and walked out because I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I don't belong in this room. And then I did, because my group came over to me and they talked to me and they said, hey, it's good to meet you. It's good to see you. This is where we're sitting. This is what we do. These are the people we're going to be talking to. And it was just like this who's who of everyone. And I have never shook that many hands in my life. I spent probably a good hour and a half going around the room talking to people and shaking hands and getting to know people. I talked to every candidate that was running, every one of them. I talked to Charlie Crist. I talked to Nikki Fried. I talked to Val Demings. I talked to the people that were running the local races. And they shook my hand. You know, like,
Incredible.
I didn't ever get to do anything like that before that moment. You know, it was just really incredible, and I kind of felt like we were all in the room. You know,
Yeah. Talk about empowering. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure
yeah,
it was
it was
terrifying,
incredible.
but also empowering.
It was, but it was really weird. Like, I mean, it felt overwhelming for about 5 minutes, and then it just didn't. Then it was just
to be there.
You're just
Yeah.
meeting people at that point. You're meeting
Mhm.
you're meeting other people who are doing things, and you're doing
Mhm.
things too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
you're meeting your
and
peers, all these like who's who of who's who
yeah,
in the those are your people that you get to meet. Like
yeah,
that's cool.
That's
yeah.
cool.
It was so amazing, and I think it's difficult to not want that feeling a lot, you know, because you know that you can make a difference, and you know that you can do something that's going to show up, that's going to be noteworthy. I am so incredibly privileged to have the connections that I have, and to be in the same room with some of the most unreal people I've ever met. I'm friends with Eleanor McDonald. She's she's the only trans legislative aide in Tallahassee. I am personal friends with her. I get to have conversations with her. I get to talk to her about how her day is going. She trusts me enough to, to confide in me. Um, it's amazing to me. I mean, those are people that are doing the work, and putting in the time and making the difference and changing the rooms that they're in, so they're the person that comes after them, they're no longer the first. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And part of using that, what I really admire is you're acknowledging that privilege you have, those connections and the ability to do these things, but you're using that privilege for really wonderful things and really inspiring things. And you're also not taking it for granted, because it is easy to do that. We're all white sitting here on a podcast together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Still part of a
absolutely.
marginalized group, but being able to recognize that and move forward and say, how am I going to use this privilege to better other people's lives? And it sounds like that's what you're working towards, and I love it.
Definitely. I try to be as aware of my privilege as I possibly can, and sometimes sometimes it gets to be a little bit. If you're not careful, I think it can be easy to lose sight of that. I try to make it a point as much as possible to understand. And honestly, it's kind of easy to, on the flip side of that, it's easy to understand that. I talk to so many people that do not have what I have. I hear stories that I shouldn't have to hear, that other people shouldn't have to go through. I've been a part of too many conversations like that people have had to endure things that just makes no sense to me. It just truly doesn't. And until people like us can walk into rooms and do the everyday things that makes us just a bunch of boring bitches, um, then I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
That's
I try
absolutely
to,
right. I want to be a boring bitch until I start
Yes.
talking about stuff, and then I want people to pay
Yeah.
attention.
I love the fact
exactly.
that we're trans
It's
to be
right
fucking
on.
boring. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
okay, check that off the list of characteristics. Oh, okay, you're trans, check. Not like a,
Hell yeah.
oh my god, she's trans.
Mhm.
What?
Right.
Pearls.
It's a great. Got it. It's the least interesting thing about me. It really
Exactly.
is.
It really
Like,
is.
yeah,
Oh,
you know. So it's just, yeah, it's been pretty crazy uh,
Yeah.
here, um, for sure. And um, I don't know exactly how it is in the states that you live in, right now, but I do know how it was previously here just a couple years ago, and I know how it is now. I know that it is incredibly scary here right now. It is difficult to stomach.
Yeah.
Um, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's a lot. Um,
Yeah.
Everybody's been going through a tremendous amount of uh, hard questions, and the reality of the decisions that came down last week really hit a lot of people in the face. Uh, it was a noticeable difference from how things have been. Uh,
can
you
you
know,
describe what happened last week?
Last week they passed three horribly anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ bills. Um, one of which is headed to the Senate and has really no opposition, but it involves public spaces, like restrooms, and empowering people that want to question whether or not someone should be able to use the restroom of their identity. Um, they can question that in public and demand someone to leave, and then call the police on them if they so choose to. That would be classified as a misdemeanor, um, and is a serious offense here. That is the reality of what is currently going on. That's only one of the other three bills that are happening. The other one is, I think it's HB 1421. That one is a bill that is incredibly serious. It wipes out gender affirming care for minors entirely. Um, it makes it illegal for private healthcare companies to provide any form of gender affirming care to adults as well.
What?
Yeah,
That's as bad
and
as misery.
it is. It's
Yes.
super bad stuff. And it it's just this domino effect of so many other things that are happening. It's SB 254 is probably the worst of all of them. That gives the state the power to have emergency custody of children.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of this one.
Yeah. Should another person make the accusation that they believe a child to be, does not matter who, anyone can go to the state and say, I believe this child is at risk of being exposed to either gender affirming surgery or gender affirming care or prescriptions. It classifies gender affirming care as serious physical harm to minors, and essentially criminalizes it completely. And it also gives the state the right to seek emergency custody of a child of a parent who is trans. This can be a child that does not even identify as trans, solely on the basis of being trans themselves.
So it's just straight up state-sponsored fascism and kidnapping.
It is.
Sounds exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's by far the scariest bill I've ever seen. It is unbelievably overreach that is going to tie up the courts for years. It threatens doctors should someone be visiting the state. Like, say, if you decide you're going to visit Florida for a week, and you call to your primary care physician and say, I'm going to need a prescription refill while I'm staying in Florida on vacation. It gives them the right to threaten a pharmacy or a doctor here with committing a crime, because it is illegal in the state of Florida, is what they're trying to claim, through no factual evidence of any kind whatsoever. And against the recommendation of every major medical association in the United States. And I know we know all of this.
It bears repeating, though.
To say it is important to say. We do have a lot of cis listeners out there too right now, so helping them understand the weight of this is really important.
Mm-hmm. This is being done without any factual evidence of any kind. This is being done under the sole premise of, we do not believe you should have the right to do this. No.
Well, it's being done from a religious standpoint, really.
It is being done heavily by a Christian extremist ideology and through heavy influence from radical Christian groups.
I don't know if I've told you guys that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Continue.
I was just going to say, I have been privy to this very personally, very closely. I've been involved with when the Board of Medicine meetings happened, when they started questioning gender affirming care, which, by the way, was such an alarming thing for the state to start recommending that they need to come up with a standard of care that goes against every major medical association in the United States. It prompted a group of over 300 Florida physicians, licensed medical physicians that practice in the state of Florida, to print an open letter in April of 2022 in the Tampa Bay Times that put their name and profession onto an open letter in the newspaper, that told them the state has no reason to do this. They believe they're going to cause exactly what they call gender affirming care, serious physical harm to people that are seeking this care. There is a standard of care that's already in place with peer-reviewed data and driven results that overwhelmingly show that this type of care saves lives. It improves drastically the quality of life for the people that receive it. And it isn't as simple as just kids being able to go up to a doctor and say, hey, give me some trans shit. That's not how it works. There is a process. There is a form of consent that has to be given. There are letters that need to be written by doctors and by prescribed therapists that approve what's being prescribed, if anything. And in a lot of cases, it just has to do with affirming someone. And they're trying to even limit social transitioning by restricting what's taught about in LGBTQ history. Or
even that it's taught at all.
Yeah, it's a complete attempt at an erasure of LGBTQ people, more specifically trans people, but in the grand spectrum of everything. What they're doing in schools is they're attempting to throw sexualization and indoctrination in the terms of anything that has to do with LGBTQ people, whether that's admitting or acknowledging the identity of someone as a student that's trans, or bisexual or lesbian, or saying they don't have the lived experience enough to know what that is, or that that's really even a thing. It erases people in LGBTQ history because it prevents people from talking about it. And it has specifically gone as far as to say, we are going to tell you what you're going to teach people. And what you're going to teach people is that sex is immutable. Well, no, the fuck it isn't. And
It's
everyone
basic
I know,
biology. It's mutable.
it is absolutely, it is
Gestures to the
absolutely
entire cast
yeah.
of the show.
I know that we have had these conversations in many circles before with people that we know, whether or not we've wanted to in certain situations.
Yeah.
I completely understand that, and I am so tired of having these conversations with other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that we need to. But what's happening in Florida honestly should scare the shit out of anyone.
It scares the shit out of me.
Sure.
I live in Idaho right now. Temporarily is my idea. And but everything in Idaho, they just look and see at like, what's the South doing? How do we become more of a Christian nationalist state? How do we get there? I was talking to a friend who's working on their PhD in sociology, and they believe if a civil war starts, it's going to start here in Idaho because there's already so many militia groups put together. And it's just, I get nervous even just going and walking around outside. There's a little Christian cult that's trying to take over the town, and they own a bunch of property. And it's like, how in the world am I supposed to feel safe here?
Have you ever heard of a comedian named Ryan Hamilton?
I have not.
Okay. He's actually from Idaho, and it's one of the reasons why I mention him is because, if I'm being 100% honest, besides you, he's the only person I've ever heard of that's also from Idaho. So I mention him because he speaks to that a lot in his stand-up, and one of the things that he says is, I come from a town of 1,000 people. When everybody says, I don't know who all these Trump voters are, I know who they are.
Yeah, I know who they are. Yeah.
I know who they are.
I was homeschooled in a cult. I know who they are.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Really quick.
Absolutely.
Quick time out. I did budget our time for ending around now-ish. Is everyone good to continue a little bit longer?
I'm good.
I am, because I was here late.
Marcia has to be here late. Has to be the latest of all of us.
I'm gonna do that producer thing soon and have like a little call sheet and like put a little like red X next to you.
Can I please get like 3 red X's and you be like, you're on your 3rd strike, girl?
Yeah,
here's your tardy slip.
Yeah.
Can I wear a dunce cap and sit in the corner? I always wanted to do that, but I was homeschooled. I never got to.
You want to wear a dunce cap?
You know, like a gnome hat?
Yeah, I wore one of those before.
Yeah. You're so stupid. Go sit in the corner.
Oh, God.
That's what a great way to give kids self-esteem. Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Nothing bad or psychologically long-lasting could happen.
No.
Surely it wouldn't make someone trans.
No, not at all.
No. So many homeschooled kids I know grew up to be trans. It's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Did they really?
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the parents started homeschooling because they wanted their kids not to be influenced by the world and the worldly things of trans and queerness or whatever. But so many of them turn out trans or queer in some way that it's like, maybe socially isolating you from everybody and your only outlet is the internet. Maybe you start to find who you are better that way. Maybe it doesn't work.
I think you just explained the IT connection.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely do. Yeah. It has become more difficult for me to find somebody that doesn't have experience in IT that's trans or non-binary. And it's incredible
I'm
for
an IT
me.
help desk manager, so.
Okay. All right.
I have an IT company that I'm starting, so I have a patent.
I'm not. I work in finance, so.
I work in a payment
There you go,
processing
Alyssa, your
center,
first
and
person.
I used to be in tech support, but not nearly in the sense of IT. I need somebody to help me access my emails sometimes. So
I don't know.
not my bag for any by any means. But yeah.
For
This
sure.
is great.
Yeah.
I really enjoy talking to y'all. I really do.
Well, we enjoy
Thank you.
talking to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoy hearing this perspective. It's not a perspective
Yeah.
that I hear. It's I don't know, like the inside baseball of it all, of not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it and what it means and all of that. That context is so important to see and hear to really just get the full picture of it all.
It is, right? You know, and it kind of puts the human element into everything and kind of makes people understand that it's um, I know that a lot of us know each other from, you know, from social media, and that's a common way for people to meet each other nowadays. But, you know, it's easy to forget that there's people on the other side of the screen name, you know, or that there is an actual personality that comes along with anything that you read.
Mhm.
And there's an intent behind that. And um, one of the things that I've always related to is that human connection with people. You know, I love getting to know people and talking to them and finding out what inspires them and lights them up. You know, it's kind of to me passion and drive is, you know, they're two things that really kind of resonate the most with me. So, you know, having those types of conversations with people and, you know, I love being able to do this type of work and to hear stories of people just, you know, when they can put this stuff down for a bit and just get to really who they are. I love hearing that kind of stuff from people. Um, you know, and getting to really to learn about people.
Yeah,
I could do that all day long.
Some
for
people
sure.
say it's really scary to share that authentic part of yourself. But to me, I feel like whenever you're sharing your authentic part of yourself and you're being vulnerable in that way, that's where the true connections happen. Because you can't have a true connection
True.
with somebody who's lying to you all the time.
Mhm.
And
Very
you also
true.
can't have a true connection with somebody filtered through Instagram or Twitter either, because you're not actually meeting the person. You're meeting whatever they're
What they
putting
want
out
you to
into the
see.
world at that point. Yeah. I feel
Exactly.
like it's through conversations that you actually meet somebody. So my goal for this podcast is for everybody to see that if three goober trans femmes like us who are autistic and have terrible
Goober,
social
speak
skills,
for yourself. Thank you.
Uh-oh, being called out.
if we can make a podcast and have interesting conversations with people, anybody can. And so y'all should.
Yeah.
Right on. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely love that.
You talking about the human element of the person behind the screen, that there's a side of this that brings us back a little bit to what we were talking about earlier. But you know, I've seen the opinion that, like, while there's all of these anti-trans bills, anti-LGBTQ bills coming out, for the most part, the average person mostly doesn't really care that much. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's just not really important enough to be on their radar. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think an important thing to identify is that probably most people, at least, are not intentionally homophobic, transphobic, blah, 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 blah. But that's just the people that have been propped up. And I think that's why your work is so important, because it's about maybe meeting those people that, for the most part, don't care because it's not in their wheelhouse. It's not something that directly affects them. And so that they can see that, like, wow, this is a real thing that, like, really impacts people, and, like, it matters. Like, I don't
It
know.
matters so much. You're absolutely right.
For
You're
sure.
killing
I
it,
mean,
in other words.
Yeah.
thank you. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's spot on. You know, I think anytime that we have the opportunity to present ourselves in a normal, everyday kind of way, it helps people understand. You know, I mean, we are, um, for all intents and purposes, kind of going after the same things that most people go after in life, because we're people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's easy to lose track of that when it's not something that is on your radar and it's not something that you see in your everyday. And there are, you know, I think it's important to remember exactly what you just said, Celeste. Most people do not intend to and aren't openly or outwardly negative towards trans people. They just don't know anything about us. And, for so many people that we talk to, anyone that we talk to that's cis, we are the only trans experience they've ever had by having a conversation with them. And
that happens a lot to me.
Sure,
We
it
become
does.
It happened to me a lot in Tennessee. Like,
Yeah.
Become the ambassador for every trans person ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm always on my worst behavior.
Good.
Perfect. You're doing it right.
Oh, that's why I'm getting those hate letters in the mail. Thank you.
Wow. Time to change the address. Time to get a P.O. box.
Yeah, exactly. Like in Tennessee, East Tennessee, I was in a very small town in East Tennessee, like outside of Knoxville. And like after I came out and everything like that, like we put up a big pride flag in front of our house. It was very big. And we even received a hate letter through the mail about it and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I knew I was the only trans person that anybody was interacting with because, at least knowingly, before I came out, I had never interacted with one. So, I don't know. I don't know where I'm really going with all of this, other than just really pointing out that your work is really important and I appreciate it greatly. Coming from somewhere that kind of stuff doesn't come out, doesn't happen often. So, yeah.
Can I say something interesting about that going along that line of thinking? Sorry, I'm just continuing Celeste's thought here. Is like
things are happening, things are moving in Marcia's brain. You can
Yay.
see the electricity zapping.
I had an interesting conversation earlier where I work in a kitchen, and next door to that kitchen is a restaurant. It's separate from the kitchen that I work in. But the owner of that kitchen came over and was like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. You should come over and have some food. I'll get you some food." Made me this tasty bacon sandwich. And I was like, okay, I'll go over and visit him and say I got a beer for lunch and everything. And he said something to me, and I think he was trying to be supportive, but he said something like, well, everybody here, well, me at least, is really supportive of like whatever people want to do in their closets, like that's up to them. So you're totally welcome here. And I was like, wow, did you just tell me that you're okay with me being trans in like the weirdest way? And it's kind of like, okay, well, I appreciate that you're trying, but also it's like, tell me that you clocked me as trans without using those words. But also it's like, well, on the other hand, it's nice that he at least tried to say that, you know?
The sentiment was there.
The sentiment was there.
Isn't it so many?
Be a little confused.
So many
He got the spirit.
Yeah.
Sure. Intent, I'm sure, is something that that's easy to keep in mind. Sometimes you really need to.
True. This was my point, though, is because especially for trans people, there's always kind of like this focus on passing and like trying not to appear visibly trans. At least that's how it was historically. You know, the idea was to integrate into society as somebody who was cis passing. I don't know if that's necessarily the best because a lot of people then in that case will interact with trans people without knowing it. And I think that happens a lot more often than people realize. I think people say, well, you're the first trans person I've ever met. It's like, no, I'm the first visibly trans person that you've met.
Yes.
And yeah, so maybe think about that next time you go grocery shopping.
Yeah, very good way to put it. It absolutely is. I think some people maybe should get into the practice of rehearsing maybe what they're going to say to someone, maybe saying it out loud and saying, does this sound like something I would want to hear, perhaps? And in some cases, it would hopefully like trigger enough cringeworthy kind of response to them to say, Yeah, probably maybe that wouldn't land the way that I would intentionally. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Or like, even if you think that it's a compliment, maybe, yeah, say it out loud. Be like, well, do I want to hear that as a cis person? I had
Right.
someone from the HR team in my work the other day say to me, River, your face looks particularly feminine today. And I'm like, what does that mean? Today? What?
I'm gonna go tell my mom that.
I mean, like, would you want to hear that? Like I almost said to her out loud, like, I fucking hope so, because I'm female. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm going
I
for,
did
babe.
it.
Come on.
Particularly feminine today.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, come
Well,
on. But yeah,
also
that's another
just
point
don't.
of like,
Yeah.
Do you think
Think of
anybody walks up to like Zendaya and says, "Wow, your face looks particularly feminine today"?
no, right? It's like, maybe don't do that.
Back in Tennessee, one of my coworkers one time, she was like, I think you're more of a girl than I am. And I'm like,
Okay.
Okay. Those were words
think
that
about
were
what you're
said.
just saying right now, and then just like,
I feel like we've lost the plot a little bit, but that's fine.
no, it's fine. I mean, it's all in, it's all relative. I think it all kind of ties to the trans experience, which, from everything I've gathered, is kind of your thing. So, I think we're still there.
Yeah, we're highlighting trans experience. That's TransSpotting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or as
exactly.
Marcy likes to say, transpassing.
I do say that on accident. That's because there was, okay, little story. When I was an egg, I used to visit Reddit/r transpassing and just get super jealous of everybody. And I would be like, oh, how come they get to be pretty girls and I don't?
There were no signs.
no signs.
Yeah,
There were no
signs at
signs.
all.
Still cis,
Absolutely
though.
no signs.
Still cis.
Still hashtag still cis though.
Lovely.
Well, it is 15 minutes over.
Yeah, do you want to tell us where people can find you and like
Yes.
if we're interested in advocacy work, how people can get involved?
Absolutely. You can find me on pretty much all of the social media platforms. On Twitter, it's Ali out and free. So it's Ali, and then instead of spelling out and, it's just the letter N, and then free, FREE. Same
Listeners, that will
on.
be in the notes of our
Yeah, we'll have to
episode.
put that in the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put this in the
Okay.
notes, don't worry.
Yeah. On Instagram, it is actually spelled out, so it's Ali out and free, and I believe it is the same on TikTok as well. I do have a Substack, which is Ali out and free, spelled all the way out. I've started doing stories and just doing like almost kind of like a journal entry kind of thing, where I'll go back and recap some things that have happened to me before or some experiences that I'm currently going through. I have started doing audio versions of some of the entries because I find that actually has resonated very well with some neurodivergent people that have told me it's amazing to be able to hear audio so I can get a better idea of the intent behind what you're saying. So I've started to do that as well, and it seems to be pretty well received. And really, I would say, if anybody is looking to get involved in advocacy, I would start on your local level as much as possible. I know I seem to hear a lot of people say you can get involved in your community, but it really is the best way to start getting involved. If you are involved in our community in any way whatsoever, then chances are, the local group that you're close to is having some very serious conversations right now. And if you'd like to be a part of them, I would definitely recommend to look on their social media site, see if there's a website that you can get to be a part of their social circles, and if they have virtual or in-person meetups, then you can do that. Volunteer at any of the. I know the Human Rights Campaign is a big volunteer-based organization that you can start doing. A lot of that stuff is is for free. volunteer work, but it's an excellent way of being able to get some experience and to get your foot in the door and start having conversations with people that are, doing this for a living. And I would also say too, if it makes a big difference in your life to try to do community work and to try to give back to people, it is incredibly rewarding. It is almost infectious when you start getting into situations where you can positively impact other people. And I would highly encourage people to do so, but do so also with understanding that it is emotionally tough work to do sometimes. And make sure that above all, that you're taking care of yourself. Don't go too far with the spoons that you have and leave none for yourself, because then you can't work from anything. You cannot fill from an empty cup. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for inspiring
Absolutely.
another generation of advocates and activists. And we can only get better from here, right? Right. You can only get better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's gonna
we
be
have.
fine.
I
It's
think
all
we
gonna be
have
fine.
nowhere to go but up. So
I think we're yeah. Awesome.
well, thank you very much
Anyone
for the
have
kind
anything
words.
else
That's
they
the
want
hope.
to anything else anyone wants to ask Alyssa before we call it a day?
I don't think so. We got
What's
our
your
own
favorite
personal
color?
clothes. Favorite? We already know
It
that
is
though.
purple.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's purple.
Purple is I'm so incredibly obsessed with purple.
Is there
Definitely
a
my jam.
particular shade of purple, tint of purple, like lavender,
Barney purple?
etc.?
purple?
A little bit lighter than that. So more like
Okay.
if you're familiar with if you're familiar with the soccer team, the Orlando Pride, they have a shade of purple that I'm particularly fond of. So
Mm.
I can relate it to that because it's definitely in my neighborhood. But if you get a chance
Nice.
to check them out,
Definitely part of Florida.
most definitely for sure. Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to tell you, congratulations on getting to your goal of your GoFundMe so that you can
Thank
be
you
safe.
so much. I truly I appreciate it so much. I appreciate every person that donated. I appreciate every single share. The kind words that you said. It means a lot. It really does. We still have a tremendous amount of work ahead of us because we are relocating. And it's going to be a process. We're leaving everything we know here, but we're doing it for the way of safely continuing to do what we do. And I cannot
Sure.
thank you enough for helping me do that. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, quick wrap up things probably won't actually be in the episode. So because we've recorded a long-ish session with not a lot of downtime in between talking, we're probably going to split this into 2 different episodes. So be
Okay.
on the lookout for that. We usually release our episodes on Thursdays, or we try to, but then
It's the
life
attempt.
often gets in the way. That
The
being
We
whole
said,
life
record on
thing.
Saturday and release on Thursday, and we're still like, oh.
yes,
Trust me, I used to
right?
do podcasting for a while, so I mean I know it's
Yeah,
there's a process with it, and
yeah.
but yeah, this was fantastic. It really
Awesome.
This
was.
was fun. I'm really
Yeah, this
upset
was
that I
super
missed
Yeah.
the first half hour.
It's
That's okay. I
okay.
think
You'll
your
just
questions
have to
actually
listen and
rehashed a lot
download
of
the
it.
next podcast.
You have to
Yay.
stay tuned, Marcia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stay tuned for my own
Definitely.
podcast. Perfect.
Yeah, sure.
Best tag ever. It's amazing.
Right?
Uh,
And
Cut it. Don't
Alyssa,
edit that. That has to be on the
very small producery ask, which is not a requirement, but just a favor. Do you think you would be okay sharing your own episode once we
in a
release it?
heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Do you
God,
have a Twitter
beautiful.
page for the do you if you have any social media tags,
We do. We need to make an Instagram one too. Have you made an Instagram one, Celeste?
I haven't, but I can do that today.
I
I'll
think
do
we
that
should make an
today.
Instagram one and a
Yeah.
Twitter one. I don't
send
know
me
if
any
we need a
social media
TikTok
that you
one.
have. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a Discord server that's been starting to blow up a little bit now.
The Discord server is so fun. It's so active.
It's so
I did not
fun.
expect
I'm so
that.
happy. I didn't either.
I always feel I like I interact too much with the
No,
fans.
you interact
No, you
like the
don't.
perfect amount. I try to interact
Yeah.
more, but I'm just like too
I'm really
busy
bad at
lately,
Discord
I
servers.
guess. And I have
Yeah.
I have like 85 Discord servers that I'm part of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this is our small way that we're trying to
Trying to make a good community.
make a difference, make a community
Yeah.
of people.
We've already got a
And,
community. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it was like, oh, wow,
Yes.
this can actually be something, is when it kind of became like a community for people and was helping people. And I was like, oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. You will find the instances where it comes back to you and people tell you that they genuinely enjoy your work and enjoy what you do is really exactly why you do it.
Mhm.
And it doesn't take but one instance for that to happen, and it really only takes reaching one person. And I think what you're doing is great.
Yeah.
If you need me for any other episodes, or you want to run anything by me, or whatever it is, let me know.
Well, we'll stay in touch. I'll add you on social media for sure.
I actually
Yeah,
just followed you
yeah.
on Twitter like 3 minutes
Yeah.
ago. So
There we go.
Okay.
And I'm a
Alright, cool.
fangirl, as you know, so I'm gonna be annoying you like nonstop probably.
That's fine.
This is a dream come true for me to see you in person.
I don't like
You
Twitter.
really have to stop making me blush, seriously. Thank you.
Well,
I really
We can-
well, for
appreciate
those who don't know, Alyssa was one of the first trans women that I interacted with or followed when I was first trying to figure out who I was and what
Yeah.
kind of brand of trans I was, especially. And she kind of helped partially crack the egg, but more like unwrap the core of what is River. So I can't thank
Nice.
you enough for being yourself. And
Your
being
egg
Oh, it
was
makes me
already
seem so
cracked, but you needed to get
philosophical.
through the
It's
white to the
crazy.
yolk.
Yeah, well,
There
yeah,
you
I need
go.
to get to the yolk. There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, no, I said it in my head and it sounded totally wrong, so I'm not going to say what
Do it.
I'm
Do
saying.
it.
I'm just gonna
Do
say,
it.
well,
Do
I'm
it.
glad I could help you get to your yolk, and it just sounded all. I don't know what the fuck we're doing now, so it just.
Alyssa,
It
thank you for
sounds.
helping me find my creamy center.
Of course, the pleasure was all mine. See, it just gets incredibly more blushworthy from there.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like us.
Yeah.
I tell you, an episode of TransSpotting is not complete without a giggle fit.
Yeah, it's true.
Nice. Well, happy to contribute for sure.
Yes.
Y'all are amazing. If you need me for anything, please let me know. I'm
Same to
never too
you.
far away.
We will. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
Likewise. Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. And for everyone out there, thank you for listening to TransSpotting, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.